Hi there. The next book I want to talk about, I'm delighted to talk about this one because it's written by a really great guy, good friend of mine, who we worked together for several years training close protection people. And it's his kind of biography, Who Dares Grins by Lofty Wiseman. Lofty always had a great sense of humour, and the courses we worked on were always a lot of fun. And to be honest, people learn more when they're enjoying themselves. You take it in more. You know, if you made school enjoyable, I'm sure kids would do better in their exams and so on. So we always had a great laugh, you know, all over the world where we were doing the courses. And I've heard quite a few of the stories that are in the book before from Lofty firsthand. In fact, I've heard some of the stories that he didn't put in the book because there were so many of them, he had to leave some out because he's had such an amazing life. Starting in part of London called Downham, where he lives, and he makes that sound really enjoyable too, even though times were hard. And he was part of what you'd call a gang, I guess now, of teddy boys. And he describes himself as a bit of a git, really, a layabout as such. And everybody back then was facing national service conscription when you reached 18. And Lofty was dreading it because it was a big interruption in your life and very regimented and so on. And they stopped it. Same thing happened to John Lennon, by the way. He would have been conscripted instead of going to Hamburg. So it can be quite life-changing. And Lofty, when he realised he wasn't going to be called up, he was actually quite disappointed. He had a reverse reaction. And a friend of his was really keen on the army and persuaded him to join the parachute regiment. And they both joined up, and his mate only lasted a couple of weeks, and Lofty lasted 27 years. So he talks about basic training in the parachute regiment and what that was like. He makes it all very humorous. He very quickly came to being 6'4", 6'5" tall. He stood out, and when he turned up and he was wearing the crepe sole shoes and the teddy boy jacket and long hair and so on, the NCOs zeroed in on him and made his life a misery, really. But he persevered and joined one of the battalions, and then bumped into a guy who I actually later worked with on close protection, a chap called Archie, who told him about the SAS. And so he took selection, and off he went to Hereford, not really knowing much about it, or Malvern, I think it was then, before Hereford. And went through selection, passed it, and at the time he was the youngest guy ever to pass SAS selection. And mainly just by perseverance, he says. He joined a squadron. He went into the freefall troop, and so he talks about the adventures being really one of the pioneers of freefall in the British military. It was just being introduced then, and rather than the sort of rather glamorous and adventurous type of thing, he describes kind of the accidents that happened and the downfalls and how difficult it was, and people just as they're about to jump, losing control of the bowels because they've been on the Guinness the night before and things like this, and with his usual humour. And then SAS operations all over the world. The book actually reminds me a little bit of Spike Milligan's wartime memoirs, Adolf Hitler, My Part in His Downfall, and so on. It's really funny. It's one of the funniest books I've ever read. I was reading it in a cafe, and everyone was staring at me because I was laughing out loud. It is that funny. Lofty's he's a great writer, gets it all down, and he puts little sketches in as well. He's a very good artist, actually. His first book, the survival book, he actually illustrated himself, although the publishers brought a professional in, but all they did really was copy Lofty's originals. So I'll just read a section which kind of sums up the kind of attitude Lofty had. You must have a sense of humour, because it's sometimes all you have. I've been up to my neck in the swamp, covered in leeches, starving and exhausted, and looked at my mate and we started laughing. Why? You want to scream, but having the ability to laugh at yourself is a pressure release valve. Without it, you would explode. That really sums up the whole thing about this book. A lot of SAS memoirs really concentrate on the blood and guts side of soldiering. Lofty has a look at the funny side. Both are relevant, both are authentic. But if you've ever met Lofty, or if you've seen him on videos and so on, you realise why this book is so funny. And I can't recommend it highly enough. If you haven't got it, you must get hold of it and read it. I guarantee you'll have a laugh.